This is the We Are USANA Video Series 2020, hosted by Chief Sales Officer David Mullum. Episode 1 starts now.
Well, hi everyone, and welcome to We Are USANA video series. It's great to have you joining us, and we know that this is not quite the Asia Pacific convention that we had planned on, but we know that we're going to be able to bring you some really wonderful experiences, and while they may not be in person, we know that we're going to be able to give you what you've been looking for in terms of content. It's been interesting times for us this the beginning of this year. And even though in many countries we're heading out of this difficult process, many of us staying at home, our schools have been closed, our economies have been uncertain. And it's been frustrating for so many communities, and so many communities have been hit so tragically by this health crisis. But as we head out of this time and we can see that the light at the end of the tunnel is not the train, and that we see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we see that there is progress that's being made by leaders around the world. And we appreciate so much the leaders in USANA who have really taken to this change and really having to adapt businesses in a different way. And so like that, we've adapted our Asia Pacific convention, I guess, in a number of transitions to where we are today to present to you a series of short but sharp, intuitive, and really wanted to bring everyone together for our We Are USANA experience. And so we want you to feel our love, which I think you would feel all of the time. We want you to feel certainly our hope and vision for the future. And so we've created this series originally for Asia Pacific, but of course now it's open to all markets. And we know that you're going to enjoy that content. And while this is something that we've never done before, like many of you, we're doing things for the first time. We're doing our business differently. We're having to adjust and we're having to adapt. And I think of all things that we're going to learn out of this experience is the way in which we approach things in life. And we're going to approach things with, I believe, a more open mind, the need to be more respectful of the people that we work with and the environment that we work in, and that we're going to adapt differently. And maybe change won't be as challenging as we've seen in the past. And so in some ways, this is going to be a convention in your pajamas, although I'm not in my pajamas, but some of you are going to get this at different times. And instead of sharing information, education, and inspiration on the stage, we're going to share it here in this video series. And so over the course of this next 6 weeks, we're going to bring you some really great content that you won't want to miss out on. There's some big product announcements, a sneak peek at our research and development team who are busy at work on so many amazing projects for the future. And so while many parts of the world have come to a standstill, USANA has kept going. And so we're going to present you Future Lab with Dr. Rob Sinnott. Inspiring stories and creative ways to do business from your fellow associates. And of course, getting that champion mindset with USANA athletes. We've got a lot of recognition to do. There's certainly great messages from our founder, Dr. Wentz. And of course, we'll be hearing from our chairman and CEO, Kevin Guest, and a number of the other officers and leaders from within the company. And also some global product promotions that we're going to be launching as well. Coming up in this flagship episode, it's a powerful and insightful conversation with Dr. Oz. We're going to have a great update on how USANA and all of you have answered the call for help during this world crisis. But first, let's band together and show the world that we are USANA.
Hello guys. Good luck on making me sound good. You're gonna need it. here we go. Here goes nothing.
We're changing the world. We live life and love it. Haven't you heard? We are USANA. We're changing the world. We live life and love it. Haven't you heard? We dream of a place for all human.
How together are we, even though we're apart? It's pretty cool. Thank you. Good to see your happy, smiling faces. We may not be perfectly in tune when we sing, but we're perfectly in harmony when it comes to helping humanity. And the first part of this year, as we've talked about, it's been tough. But even as we face these uncertainties of the future, so many of you have been willing to help. And there's so many people we could recognize for their support and help, individuals helping their neighbor. So to give you a bit of an insight into how USANA has been really helping in these uncertain times, I'm going to hand over to our president, Jim Brown, who I have to say has been phenomenal during this really difficult time, leading our company globally. And Jim's stoic and strong leadership has really shined through in making sure that we're being able to support the business in the way that we need to. So here's an update on the USANA family and how we've answered the call to support. So over to you, Jim.
Thank you, David. Everyone around the world has been monitoring the coronavirus situation closely. We've seen how it's impacted our families, our communities, and our way of life. From the very beginning of this pandemic, USANA's top priority has been keenly focused on doing what's best for our valued employees and associates. But we also need to make sure that this great company stays up and running. Our manufacturing facilities, both in the United States and China, have been able to meet the increased demand for our USANA products, and we continue to deliver them all over the globe. We've implemented a number of safety protocols in all of our offices around the world. Because as a good corporate citizen, it's vital that we carefully adhere to the physical distancing best practices, an important action to slow the spread of the virus. And I want to personally thank everyone, especially our employees and associates, for all that you continue to do to keep USANA the healthiest family on earth. It's been clear from the start of this pandemic that there is mighty need to help our community. And outside of the great work done by the USANA Foundation, we knew that we could do even more, especially when it comes to the thousands of healthcare workers and caregivers who continue to dedicate their time and efforts to contain this virus. Here's what we've done to help. Starting with China, where the effects of the coronavirus through the Hubei province have been devastating. In addition to providing our customers in the province free policy, USANA and the many generous associates throughout the nation were able to donate $325,000 to the relief efforts conducted by one of our trusted charity partners, the China Foundation for Poverty Alleviation. That helped purchase personal protective equipment and other supplies for medical workers on the front line throughout Wuhan City and other affected areas in the region. USANA also helped in Korea in the early stages, donating 1,000 health packs to the Daegu Division of Social Disaster, providing much-needed nutrition to medical staff and members of the local community under COVID-19 quarantine at the time. There are also efforts being made in the Philippines, where in addition to our associates supplying medical professionals with the food, supplements, and cash donations, USANA also provided 4,000 units of mini cell essentials, along with 1,700 units of PPE for healthcare workers in 13 hospitals. In Australia, $25,000 has been donated to the local food bank, and in New Zealand, another $15,000 added to our many years of partnership donation to Kids Can through the USANA Foundation. Closer to home here in the United States, where the pandemic is currently hitting the hardest, and the state of Utah, where shelter-in-place orders and economic shutdowns are still in force, USANA's Kids Eat program continues to pack and distribute thousands of meals. That means hungry children throughout our local community here in the Salt Lake City area are able to get a decent meal, as they can no longer rely on going to school to eat. On another note, just like you, we're all washing our hands often. In addition to soap and water, we turn to hand sanitizer, which, as it turns out, has been hard to come by. That's why USANA has gotten even more creative about how we can help this critical need. We've donated 1,900 caps and bottles for sanitizer to help alleviate the shortage being experienced by our first responders. USANA has also taken the extra steps to produce hand sanitizer for our employees and customers in the US and Canada. Help will not end there. We have set aside an additional $250,000 for other places with the most critical need. While we know it will not solve the problem, our efforts, along with many contributions being made by companies and communities all around the world, will make a big difference. We're taking action, and together we can help alleviate the impact coronavirus has had on all of us. And though this particular challenge is radically different than anything we've ever seen, challenges are what make us stronger. We are pushing forward, committed to the future. I am proud of this great company and all that you have done individually and collectively to make it great. Stay safe, be kind to others, and thank you for all you have done to continue to make USANA the healthiest family on earth.
Hey, thanks, Jim. And again, thanks from all of us at USANA for your leadership. You know, focusing on what we can do instead of what we can't do is vital to our well-being. And this is something our friend and colleague, Dr. Oz, advocates as well. And so our Chief Communications Officer, Dan Mazuga, caught up with a very busy doctor who's going to share some time with us. Over to you, Dan.
Thanks, David. You know, if you've turned on your TV, looked at your phone, checked the news, chances are you've seen our special guest today, Dr. Oz. He's here to share his extraordinary knowledge and help us all navigate through this world crisis. Dr. Oz has been going nonstop these past several weeks, splitting time between the hospital on the front lines in New York City, as well as still producing and hosting the Dr. Oz Show. He's also a highly sought-after medical contributor for many news agencies, giving his perspective about the impact the coronavirus has had on healthcare providers, not only in the United States, but around the world. All of us here at USANA are proud of the work he does to bring more health knowledge to people everywhere. But he also cares deeply about all of us here at USANA and has generously carved out some of his precious time to speak with us. So, hello, Dr. Oz.
Hey, Dan, and to the entire USANA family, I miss you all. We would have had a lot of events together this spring, but COVID-19 threw a wrench in the works. It's great to be with everyone digitally. I know that even though we're physically apart, we can still be together. I am grateful that we have this technology and social media, of course, that keeps us connected so we can do our part to stop the spread of a coronavirus.
You know, Dr. Oz, I know you've been extremely busy. I know you're on the front lines. You've got a deep understanding of what's happening at healthcare facilities around the world. What have you seen lately? What are healthcare providers managing to overcome the stress and overwhelming requests we hear about daily for care?
Well, I'm on the phone continually, dialoguing with folks all over the planet. Obviously, that's how I collect a lot of the information that I get to share with folks on television. And what I'm seeing in hospitals, both locally and globally, overlaps. Folks are exhausted. They don't know what the future holds. That creates an additional level of anxiety. Here at the epicenter in New York, we had a lot of difficulty dealing with the huge influx of patients, analogous to what happened in other parts of the world, in Italy and in China. And so we've learned what problems that presents. Ideally, we'd be able to at least slow the progression of the virus so we don't overrun the healthcare system. And that's part of the big challenge here, because when healthcare professionals, and they've told me this on the show and off the record, and there's good and there's bad. They're incredibly invigorated by the remarkable support that they're getting, but sometimes that support doesn't come in the forms of protective gear and ventilators, things that they absolutely need to do their job, because managing those supply lines has turned out to be a real challenge. And that's probably their biggest fear that we would all probably share if we were there, which is they're going to have to sit in a room one day and say, Mr. Jones on the left, you get the device, Mrs. Jones on the right, you don't get the device. That's why these days it's particularly important, because as the virus surges in some parts of the world and it pulls back in other parts of the world, you realize that the fundamental safety net for all of us is each other. It's that interconnectedness that the healthcare workers feel, even though they don't get to actually see, for example, patients' families, because they're not allowed in the ICUs, they're not allowed in the hospitals.
And an interesting thing, you've had the opportunity to attend a lot of our USANA events and even spend time with Dr. Wentz, and he's founded this vision of the company as being the healthiest family on earth. And we've kind of built the health and wellness lifestyle around that. What do you feel we can do to help keep USANA remain the healthiest family?
Well, number one is stay home. I know it's hard to do because you're gregarious, you love speaking with each other, you love big events, but you got to stay home. It's the most effective way to stop the spread of the virus. Interesting new data from this CDC shows exactly how contagious this virus is. The average person with the flu would spread it over the course of 5 cycles to 9 people, but with this COVID-19 virus, it'll spread to 1,280. I remembered the number. That's a lot of people to infect. So when you stay at home, you change that number back towards what the flu does. So use this time to reconnect with your family, be prepared, stick to a routine, eat the right things, make sure you get your exercise, find content that makes you better, develop a hobby, do the things that your whole life you wanted to do, but you never had time. Now you actually have time because you're forced to. And by the way, I'm going to put a survival guide on droz.com, and we'll make it available for you to post as well. I put all the items in there: sleeping, exercising, it's the basic protection, and the foods and supplements that are important, based on the best research that we're able to cobble together.
And I've seen on the shows and in social a lot of talk about wearing a face mask or a face covering in public. And there's a lot of back and forth and discussion around that in the media as well as online. Can you take a moment just to kind of give some clarity on how the virus spreads? What's the impact of something like this?
Our understanding of the virus has changed somewhat. We thought initially that it spread primarily when we sneezed and coughed, or maybe it landed on tables, you touched a table and touched your face. And those are all still valid. But what we have begun to appreciate is that one of the main ways this virus spreads is in the saliva of people who are just speaking. So you and I are talking, and I'll say the word, USANA is a healthy company. When I say that TH, I'm actually spitting a little bit, tiny bits of saliva with virus in them, and that'll go 6 feet away from me easily, which is why that's the distance that we pick for separation. So how do you avoid that? Keep that distance. When you go outside, wear some facial covering. I have a bandana that I use with little rubber bands. I put the video up on my social media. I'll share it with you as well. A scarf works fine. Again, you're doing your part to stop the spread of the germs in the air. The N95 masks, I wish we have enough, but we don't have them. And frankly, if it's the droplet particles you want to stop, that scarf and bandana, they're not as good as a surgical mask, but maybe they're half as good, which is a lot better than nothing.
Now, I know this has been going on for a while, because I know I've been working from home, and it's always an adventure. The commute from downstairs to the office is brutal. I got to pass college students doing exams. I got to pass kids trying to work out. It's crazy. But how long have you actually been working from your home, and what are you doing to stay healthy?
So we built this studio in the basement of my home that you've been to. And it's used to be a theater room, so it's soundproof, so the yelling and screaming of the kids outside doesn't penetrate quite as loudly. My team built it out before New York shut down, so we had the ability to seamlessly transition to here, never stop taping our show. What I do basically personally is I meditate. I do it at night usually, but actually not commuting helps me a little bit. I exercise at home. Yeah, you don't need a gym. You can just do yoga, and there are tons of videos online right now. It's pretty easy, I think, to get into a routine, because the hour that we usually, each of us, waste commuting to work now can be converted into time to get some extra movement in, along with a great diet. And I'm meticulous about this because I think nutrition is going to play a big role in how I'll feel going through all this. And across the board, if I keep that routine going and don't fall off it, then I know that the days won't seem like they're merging into each other, because that's a real fear for a lot of people.
As we look at what's going on, and I know you personally were trying to, or had invested rather, into some clinical research, and we're looking for ways to figure out how to treat this COVID-19. How close are we to a treatment or even a vaccine on this one?
Well, the vaccine's 15 months away. That's, I think, what everyone I trust says. It just takes that long to make a vaccine. You can't give billions of people a shot if you're not sure that it's safe and you're not sure that it works. But with a better understanding of the virus, we're going to get better at learning how to treat it. And there are all kinds of insights based on that understanding. But here it is basically. The virus gets into your body, penetrates through receptors in usually your nose cells. So that's the first place we can target. These are called ACE2 receptors. They're more present in older people than younger people. They're more present in hypertensive people than non-hypertensive people. Then the second major area is to look at what happens inside the cell when the virus penetrates. And it's an RNA virus, so it hijacks the cell machinery and starts to replicate itself. And you can block that. Remdesivir and a bunch of other antiviral agents, protease inhibitors used for AIDS, all these solutions that we've made up for Ebola and for SARS now can be used. We don't know how well they're going to work, but that's part of the equation we're trying to solve for. And finally, what ends up really hurting people a lot is not the virus by itself, but the overreaction of our immune system, the civil war in our body when our immune system runs amok. And there are some medications that can work on IL-6 and tumor necrosis factor and other chemicals that turn on the immune system and overdo it. And so those are the medications that are being used right now until we get the vaccine. And I do believe that over the next few months, we're going to get more comfortable with some of these therapies. And so we'll have solutions that work better for people who do get sick. Obviously, the less people who are sick, the more resources we can dedicate to the ones who are sick, the more lives we'll save.
Thank you. And I know we've got some unique opportunities coming up with you. You and I have spoken about some of the new show integrations coming up. We just, for fun, launched the Celavive Exfoliating Scrub and Mask. I know you guys had fun with Dr. Lee and Flick Palmatier, our surfer from Down Under. And then we've got Booster C coming up with our own Chief Science Officer, Dr. Rob Sinnott, on April 29th. And then Pure Rest, sleep, an important one, melatonin product, again with Dr. Sinnott on May 6th. So what can we expect moving forward? Do you think there'll be an end to all this? What can all of us do? What's the parting words you want to leave with everyone as we step away here?
Like so many of the things that we're experiencing now, they actually are precedents in history, and this will pass. Humans have been through difficult times. Ultimately, the safety net is each other, which is why the USANA family is so important to each and every one of you. You guys should stay in touch. But I think here's the goal. Certainly over the next month, if we stay positive and stay connected and use the opportunity to share all the things that make us special, and again, for the USANA family, you've got a lot to be thankful for. We're going to be able to come out of this crisis. We're going to continue to live a USANA lifestyle, but just in a little different way. Little social distancing will be in our future. People who have comorbid conditions are probably going to want to be extra careful. We'll probably get more comfortable that this disease was much more widespread than we thought, because probably a quarter, maybe up to a half of the people who are infected don't really have meaningful symptoms. They don't even know they're ill. And so these insights will allow us to get more comfortable with the battle with this virus. But until we get the science to catch up to what we're all feeling, look for opportunities to help your community. That's going to give you purpose. And if you're out there helping someone who's in need, with that purpose will give you hope, because they travel together. So remember, everybody, you control your destiny. You're not just a pawn. You're not passively watching the world go by you. The USANA family, you guys have battlefield commissions to become leaders. So go do it.
I truly want to thank you for your perspective and advice on this, what we can do during these times, but thank you more for the time that you've given back to not only help look for solutions, but really get people to focus on the right way to take care of their bodies and be healthy and be well. So wishing all the best to you and your family. Stay well. Hope to actually see you soon in person again. David, I think Dr. Oz brought up some amazing points. In a time when we feel helpless, we can take action. We can eat healthy, exercise, sleep well, stay connected. So back to you, David. Dr. Oz, thank you. And thank you to all the Oz team for helping us out.
Thanks, Dan. Really appreciate you connecting with Dr. Oz. Fascinating clarity and words of wisdom. Some takeaways from this episode. For me, most importantly, we may not be able to control the situation, but we can certainly take charge of our own destiny, really master that. And of course, change often creates calamity for us, but I think we're seeing that change can be opportunity, and our adaptability to change is a really important thing. Of course, part of our core values, a big part of our core values is community. And so serving our communities will keep us headed in the right direction. That's a really important part of our USANA story. The current crisis will close, and we can see that the light is definitely shining bright in a number of places around the world. And even though we're still dealing with difficult times in some places, we're starting to see change. And so we want to be prepared for that. And even though our future will look different, we won't go back to how things were. We're going to go forward into something new. For next week, we're going to be celebrating women in business. And of course, the many women across the world in USANA who are leading great organizations, great businesses. And of course, part of that is celebrating Mother's Day, a really important day of the year for all of us. And in most countries, it's celebrated pretty soon. We have some business builders from different countries that are going to share what they've been doing, not just traditionally, but really what's the new norm? How are they approaching the business as we see this transition to a new way of doing business as we look towards the future? There are a number of very big product announcements and a number of global product promotions that you'll have just a short period of time to take advantage of. But to close things out today, we wanted to recognize some of Asia Pacific's achievers, especially as we had to transition from our live event into our episodes. We wanted to take this opportunity to particularly focus on our Asia Pacific leaders. And so please help me in congratulating Asia Pacific's top growth winners.
Executive 1-Star Diamond Directors Yuan Sha Mao and Yuan Tu Wang. Executive Emerald Director Wen Taipei. Executive Emerald Directors Eric Ho and Anna Tang. Executive Ruby Directors Steve Wang and Yok Keen. Executive 2-Star Diamond Director Mei Huang. Executive 5-Star Diamond Directors Hui Yu and Shichuan Mao. Executive Diamond Directors James Tan and Susan Lean. Foundation Executive 3-Star Diamond Directors Chi Bum An and Ju Hui Kim. Executive 1-Star Diamond Directors Jin Sun Ja and Ji Hun Lee. Executive Emerald Director Pua Melisande. Executive Emerald Directors Ji Yong An and Sang Hee Zhang. Executive Diamond Director Kan La Yani Vong Katia. Executive Emerald Director Gyang Jin Park. Executive 1-Star Diamond Directors Yong Lan Yuk and Jin Hong Kim. Executive 1-Star Diamond Director Angelina Lee. Executive 1-Star Diamond Directors SC and Mi Yi. Executive Ruby Directors Li Ling Tang and Hui Huang. Executive Emerald Director Yong Sim Kang. Executive 1-Star Diamond Directors Go Eun Kim and Sang Yong Kim. Executive 5-Star Diamond Director Hyun Jin Kwan. Executive 3-Star Diamond Directors Renelle and Jonalyn Blanco. Executive 1-Star Diamond Directors Gyang Tae Park and Hee Sung Hwang. Executive 9-Star Diamond Directors Lucas Lean and Jane Liao. Executive Diamond Director Mi Kyung Yang.
And now it's my honor to announce the #1 top growth and President's Award winner from Korea, 11-Star Diamond Directors Park Seong-ja and Pyun Hak-boom. Yay!
안녕하세요. 반갑습니다.
It's great to see you. I have one question for you. How have you continued to stay so uplifted, positive? I mean, you are those kind of people anyway. Great leaders, incredible leaders in USANA. But how have you stayed so positive and continued to grow your business even during this current world situation?
유사나를 통해서 많은 사람들한테 도움을 줄 수 있다는 강력한 생각을 가지고 이 어려운 시기를 잘 이겨낼 수 있다고 생각합니다. 그렇게 비즈니스를 하고 있습니다.
저희는 유사나 코리아 회사와 그리고 저희 그룹에서 모든 시스템을 기존에 있는 오프라인 시스템을 온라인 시스템으로 다 전환을 했습니다. 지금은 너무나 어려운 시기입니다. 그렇기 때문에 가장 중요한 것은 서로 협업하고 그리고 희망을 나누는 게 너무너무 중요합니다.
Well, thank you for your leadership and thank you for sharing with us. Congratulations on not just this, but all of your many achievements and looking forward to seeing you very soon in person. Well, everyone, that's it for this week's episode and we look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye for now.
We are USANA. Thanks for watching.